All right, good morning, traders. Today is March 26, 2026. My name is Coach Carignan. I'm the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your subscriptions. Thank you for everybody out there in social media, everybody that follows my content, likes my content, subscribes to my content, everybody that leaves kind words on my content. Appreciate that. Love that. Thank you. Big shout out Rick Sadler, Ed Carter, Kathy, Sarah Roasted, John Jordan, Bob Jordan, and everybody else that shares the content, helping get the good word out there to the World Wide Web. Thank you so much. All right, let's get started today and see what happened yesterday. All right, so again, thank you for being here. My SPY pivot this morning, 657 above it. I'm a bull, below it I'm a bear. SPY, Diamond Dow, QQQ made higher highs, higher lows, closing inside bearish traps under their 17 EMAs. FNGU inside day, closing under a bearish trap and under the 17. IWM, higher high, higher low, closing over a bullish cross and, oh, get this, over the falling 17 EMA. Now, the other four in the Fab 5 are all under the 17. Okay, is IWM trying to stage a move here? We'll see. SPY closed with a 2-hour uptrend, just barely. It's more like it's more like bearish consolidation. All right, but they got like 3 candles, where the 3 EMA is riding up on top of the 8 EMA. So it's a very weak 3-candle, 2-hour uptrend. 10-minute downtrend. Gold made a higher high and a higher low, closing inside bearish trap and under the 17. Silver higher high, higher low, closing inside a bearish trap under the 17. Same thing. USO made a higher low, made a lower low and a lower high, closing under a bearish cross, but over the rising 17. UNG still in a downtrend, made an outside day. That's a higher high and a lower low, closing under a bearish trap under the 17. U.S. dollar index still in a daily uptrend, closed near the 99.63. It's been hovering in that area for about a week now. SPY max pain 657 with a put to call ratio of about 1.5 puts to each call that expires today. Remember, those index options expire at 4:15. Security options expire at 4. If this is your first time seeing this, these are all in daily uptrends over the 17 EMA. These are all in daily downtrends under the 17 EMA. They got a little star next to it. They're building out a platform from which to dive lower, all right? So that'd be a bear flag or a platform, all right? So take a look at those. They are primed to drop. You can see GTLB already took the drop. Now it's on its path down. All right, let's take a look at the markets here, okay? SPY, let's start off with the 10-minute. Okay, you got the sticks and the 3 riding underneath the falling 8 or the fading 8. So you can see right there we've got 10-minute downtrend coming into the close yesterday on the 2-hour chart. This is where it gets kind of shady. All right, you got 3 candles up here and 3 EMA riding up over the 8 EMA. So we got a weak 3-candle uptrend. I mean, if you look at this, it's a move down over to the right. So that's like kind of a bearish consolidation, if you ask me. But anyways, 2-hour uptrend coming into the close. I'm going to call it bearish consolidation. Daily chart. Daily chart's a higher low, a higher high. We closed, see all this space in here? That's the trap, okay? So we closed inside a bearish trap. Under the falling, see the red dots, that's the 17 EMA. Under the 17 EMA. Look at the quad lines here. So this is the origin of our move back here in April. We rallied up, and you can see the quadrant lines. Each one represents 25%. Okay, this would be the 50-yard line or 50-50 right here. Above that would be the bulls control. Below that would be bears control. Okay, so up here we've got prices in the upper third. When it's in the upper third, I call it bullish. When it's in the lower third, I call it bearish. When it's in the middle, I call it neutral. So SPY on the daily chart right now is bullish. All right. But obviously still in a downtrend. They have not made any higher highs. So SPY is bullish, but in a downtrend on the daily chart. Weekly chart, again, here's our origin of our move back in April. And you can see all the green dots. So we made a low here, and we made a lower low. So that's bullish and in a downtrend, just like the daily chart. Let's take a look at the monthly. Monthly, again, here's our April origin of our rally. Up and over to the right, nice bull flag. Bullish and in an uptrend, okay? So downtrend on the weekly, because we made a lower low. Downtrend on the daily, because we keep making lower lows, all right? And 2 hour, it's a very weak bullish consolidation right through there. But the monthly chart showing us bullish and in an uptrend. They have not made any lower lows below the 17 EMA. Okay, so there's SPY on the monthly chart. Let's take a look at QQQ. Then we'll look at some game plans. We'll drill down, start off on the 10-minute. All right, you can see a little space between the 3 and the 8. So got 10-minute downtrend coming into the close. 2 hour chart. Same thing as SPY. Got a weak 2-candle uptrend on the 2 hour chart. I'm going to call it bearish consolidation again. Price moves down and over to the right. Okay, so on that 2 hour chart, that's bearish consolidation if you ask me. But we got a weak 2-candle uptrend on the 2 hour chart. Daily chart, same as SPY. Higher low, higher high, closing in a bearish trap. Closing under the falling 17. Closing under the pink line, the all-time high anchored VWAP. See this green line? Closing under the uptrend line right there. Broke that. All right, we're at the bottom of quadrant 4. We're still bullish because we're in quadrant 4. All right, but we're obviously in a downtrend, lower high, lower low. All right, so that's a downtrend. So QQQ daily chart is bullish but in a downtrend. Still trying to hold on to this flag area up there. Weekly chart also in a downtrend, making a lower low on the weekly chart. So we are still bullish. Again, here's April. That's the origin of our move. So up and over to the right, you can see we're still in the upper third, so we're still bullish, all right? But we're making lower highs and lower lows, so that's a downtrend on QQQ. Monthly chart still bullish, and in an uptrend, you can see the first candle you come to at pokes below. The 17 is this one right here, so long way to go to get that one, all right? So there's QQQ on the monthly chart. All right, let's take a look at game plans. We'll start on the 15-minute, and let's look right here on the 15-minute. All right, so green erases red entry up over yesterday's highs. Okay, so that's over 5.9. Price gets up there over 591.40. Starts closing candles up there. That is a green erases red entry up there. Pivot 588.40 above it. I'm going to be bullish. Below it, most likely going to be bearish. Red erases green. Red erases green below 585.65. That is the bearish red erases green entry. Okay, so candles closing down here. I would look for a 2-minute, 5-minute, 10-minute downtrend to trade to the downside. All right, if we get candles closing down there, that's the red erases green entry down there. That's QQQ. All right, I trade Friday options on the multiple of 5 specifically for the open interest. I like the at-the-money strikes. So in other words, if price is trading at 587, I would like the 587, would depending on the direction, puts, all right, or calls right around there, 588, 586, right around there. That would be at the money. That's QQQ. All right, I trade 10-minute uptrends over VWAP. Trade 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. Okay, if a 10-minute uptrend were to manifest down here, long before the green, excuse me, erases red entry up here, I'm not opposed to trading it. Just like to see it break that bullish 10-minute rubber band candle. All right, SPY. SPY's got pivot this morning, 657, above it, bullish, below it, bearish. Green erases red over, right over this last peak right here, over 659.40. That's green erases red entry. Got a couple of wicks here to be careful for, but that's my green erases red entry. Price entry below 654.75. That's bearish. All right, for me, that's my red erases green entry underneath that. I trade Friday options on the multiple of 5, looking for strikes at the money. Again, 656. I would look for 657, 655, right around there, be at the money. I trade 10-minute uptrends over VWAP, 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. Okay, so let's take a look at the market with the pre-market on there. Now that you've seen the game plans, let's take a peek at them with some price action. Now, it's 8:12. We got an hour and 15 minutes pretty much before the market opens. Currently, we got ourselves a wonky 10-minute downtrend. I'd be interested in trading a continuation of the downtrend. But let's recognize, traders, 650, the big fat whole round number, will act as support. Okay? Hence, you're getting a nice bounce right now. Okay, so 650 is acting as support. Now, the more times we bump into 650, the closer it looks to Swiss cheese, and before you know it, we're breaking through to the downside. Just saying, all right, the more we bump into it, the weaker it becomes. Okay, so there's SPY on the 10-minute chart. Again, I'm looking for, I have an interest in trading the 10-minute downtrend down to the 650 area and actually below. But recognizing that we may get stalled up here at 650 simply because it's the big fat whole round number. There'll be a lot of positions and options probably priced right from the 650 strike. So there'll be a lot of turbulence or obstacles in here, not allowing us an easy path through 650. All right, so expect that. All right, and I'm looking at a 10-minute downtrend under the close. We'll see. All right, so right now, currently, we've got all right. We've got the futures, all right? Now, very well that the futures could, typically what happens in the futures is after they make their move lower, we do have a trend. They got to break the downtrend. Pretty much they're probably going to try to find their way back to the VWAP line, which is this gold line here, all right? And then if they get on top of that, a good chance they come back for the point of control, which happens to be this big node of volume right through here. Okay, that's going to be the point of control. So in the morning, just keep your head on a swivel, all right? Because even though I said take the downtrend, it's very well that that downtrend is over after hitting 650, and we could find our way on a path back up to the VWAP line right here and the point of control up here. All right, just saying, we might not have a 10-minute downtrend when we open up an hour and 15 minutes from now. Okay, because it is normal. It is normal to see price meander its way back to VWAP and the point of control, which happens to be the tip of this big node of volume right there that took place. I just want to point that out in case you got a plan to trade only a 10-minute downtrend, that we may see, a pushback to that point of control. Just wanted to point that out. All right, get that out of the way. All right, see, I can see some igniting move here. They're probably going to put in 2 or 3 10-minute green candles. We'll see what they do, but I wouldn't be surprised to see us back up here near the pivot. All right, so there's SPY on the 10-minute. That's my plan for this morning, is to trade a 10-minute downtrend. But I got to recognize that they just hit 650. So we may be on our path back to the point of control. We'll see what happens, which is probably pretty much gap fill way up here. All right, so we'll see what happens. There's SPY on the 10-minute chart. Okay, let's go look at some of the other indexes. Move this out of the way. Start with IWM. And we'll pick it up on over here. And we'll pick it up on the daily. All right, IWM. Got a higher low. Got a higher high. We closed over a bullish cross. See the 3 EMA crossing over the 8. So that's a bullish cross. And we're closing over. See the falling 17? Closing over that falling 17. We're up here in quadrant 4. Now I said, look out. We just hit the 33% retracement right there. I don't know if you guys were with me, but that was on the 20th. I said there's a good chance we reverse and start heading back up until we hit the all-time high anchored VWAP. All right, we're at the 17 now. Probably going to go back up here to the all-time high anchored VWAP. If we don't hit that one, we may, I'm going to move it. We obviously got that one right there, okay? It's either this one right here. If they keep going up, then it's probably going to be the all-time high anchored VWAP, which is right up here. Okay, about 257.37. We'll see. All right, so there's IWM. That is still bullish. Again, back to the origin of our move. Okay, back here in April, we're up over to the right. That's bullish in the upper third. All right, but we're in a downtrend. We have not made any higher highs. We've done nothing but here's a low, make lower lows. So downtrend, but still bullish because we maintain the upper third. Okay, so that's IWM. Let's take a look at Diamond Dow. Higher low, higher high. You can see the lower third right here, the upper third. Closing in the bullish upper third of the quad lines. Okay, here's the origin of our rally, April. We go up, rolling over, still in the upper third. So we're still bullish in my book. All right. All right, but we are definitely in a downtrend with a lower high and lower lows. Okay, you can see a low there. We got lower lows, even lower lows. Okay, so we're bullish but in a downtrend right now. That's Diamond Dow on the daily chart. Okay, let's take a look at Stinker. And Stinker right here. Yesterday's candle's an inside day. Higher low, lower high. Closing under a bearish trap. Under the falling 17 EMA. Under the all-time high anchored VWAP. Right up here. Starts out on the all-time high. If we back out, we can see this is the origin of our rally, and the all-time low is April. This is the all-time high made here in October or November, right there. And you can see price is down here in the neutral area. Okay, so knocking on the door to get into the bearish zone. All right, so their Stinker is obviously in a downtrend. They have not made any higher highs yet on the daily chart. You can see they're in a downtrend. You got a low right here. They made a lower low. All right, so lower low. So price action is in a downtrend and not bullish or bearish, just neutral. All right, but I see price down here. We're getting into that bearish zone right now. See that 1646 area? That's in the bearish zone right now. Okay, so this FNGU on the daily chart, neutral, still in a downtrend. Let's take a look at silver and gold. Silver and gold both put in higher highs and higher lows, closing inside bearish traps and under the falling 17 and under their all-time high anchored VWAPs. Silver's neutral and in a downtrend. Gold is bullish and in a downtrend, okay? Here's the origin of the move back in 2022, right here to the all-time high, right up there. All right, and you can see we're still in the upper third, so that's bullish. But you can see a low here, a low here. We're making lower lows. That's downtrend. Okay, so gold bullish and in a downtrend. Back again to silver. Notice silver's not in the upper third, so neutral and in a downtrend. Let's take a look at USO. All right, USO got a lower high, a lower low. I was confused by the green candle. A lower high, lower low, closing under a bearish cross. All right, and over that rising 17. See the green dots right there? Okay, so we're down here at the bottom of quadrant 4. That's still bullish. We have not made any lower lows, so we're still bullish. And in an uptrend, you can see up over this 4-year high anchored VWAP. That's the pink line. That 4-year high was post-COVID right there. Okay, so 4-year high anchored VWAP up there in quadrant 4. That's USO. Let's take a look at UNG. UNG still bearish and in a downtrend. Okay, UNG is outside day, higher high, lower low, closing under a bearish trap, under the fading 17, underneath the 1 year, 12-month high, anchored VWAP. That's the pink line right there. We're in quadrant 1, okay? So up here we're bullish. In quadrant 4, we're in quadrant 1, so this is bearish, all right? And in a downtrend, you got a low here below the 17. Well, we made lower lows. So this is bearish and in a downtrend. Let's take a look at technicals, T2101. Okay, the market melted up yesterday and we lost participation. That's a bearish sign. So bears still showing presence in the area, all right? If you're taking roll call, they're still showing they're around. Okay, T2122. If we back out, look at the last 10 days, maybe 20 days. Okay, you can see the majority of the price action is below the 50-yard line, okay? Showing you bearish control right through here. All of this, look at the majority. Every time we get up here over it, we kind of give it up. If we get up there, we give it up. We get up and we give it up, okay? A lot of just giving it up every time we get up there in that buyer's chop zone. So that's T2122. So bears still showing control. Okay, we are spent a whole day, actually yesterday and the day before, knocking on the door of the bullish side to get into the bullish territory up here. But we just couldn't make it, all right? We just opened the door, just couldn't get through, all right? Just not wide enough for the bears to walk in there. All right, so, and convert to bullishness. But you can see right here, they're trying to get in there. All right, so still bearish control. I do like the higher lows right through here, but we seem to have run into a wall right there. All right, so it's possible we could make a trip, a quick trip up there to the overbought zone. We'll see. That's T2122 15-minute chart, okay? We spent the day camped out inside the seller's chop zone. Let's take a look at T2123. Let's put the quad lines. This is the all-time high, by the way. Put the quad lines on there. Okay, you can see we're down here in quadrant 1. That's bearish. And you can see we're making... well, there's a low. There's a lower low. Question is, did we make a higher high? No, we did not. So we're bearish and in a downtrend, and we're under the falling 200 SMA. That's where you want to be if you're a bear. It's underneath that. That's T2123 15-minute chart, bearish and in a downtrend. On the 3-bar chart, all right, on the 3-bar chart, I'm going to take this back. That was an all-time high back in 2024. And then in 2025, right off the April rally, we made a new all-time high. Then we had a pullback, made a higher low, and ripped to a 2026 all-time high up there in quadrant 4, all the way up there. I'm going to take this off. All right, so you can see we're still bullish because we're in the upper third. Here's the bigger picture. Here's the April rally, up, pull back, rally. So we're still in the upper third, so we're bullish. But let's look at the candlesticks, and you can see a low here, and then a high there, and then we've got a lower low, and an even lower low. So bullish, but in a downtrend. We're now underneath this 200 SMA. That was supposed to catch price. It didn't do its job. We'll see what happens. Hopefully we don't get caught underneath it and roll over for further downside. That's T2123 3-bar chart. Take a look at Stinker on the 15. All right, and I'll zoom way out, put the quad lines in here. Okay, so from the all-time high way up there, you can see Stinker still down here. Quadrant 1, that's bearish. All right, let's see if they made in an uptrend. I don't think they made lower lows. See what the low is here. 1689, low here. 1690. So you couldn't quite make that lower low yet. So they made a high here and then a higher high. So that left them off with an uptrend until they make lower lows. And they missed here by 2 pennies to make the lower low. Obviously got it right here in the morning. So that's Stinker on the 15. We're under the 200. That's bearish. Okay, you can see if I pan way out to the all-time, close to the all-time high as I can get. We're down here in quadrant 1. That's bearish. All right, and you can see we're in a dysfunctional uptrend in that it's not, after making the higher high, we're not moving up. We're kind of melting to the right or melting down. So we got that dysfunctional uptrend right now on FNGU, which is definitely going to be a downtrend now. We've obviously made a lower low. All right, so there's FNGU. US dollar index, back way out. Here is the 2025 high. We go into a daily downtrend, putting in lower highs and lower lows, and then produce a bear flag at June. And we have been moving over in the bear flag for 6 months, all right, with the weak dollar, all right. GDP should have reflected this weak dollar with higher gross revenues or higher gross domestic sales, okay, gross domestic product. We have not gotten good numbers from GDP on the last one. All right, but here we are with the U.S. dollar, especially with the weaker dollar. We should be getting more sales overseas and to our foreign people, but maybe the tariffs have completely undone that. Anyways, we're in a big bear flag, but inside the bear flag, we're in a daily uptrend, okay, because we've got a low. We just made a higher low. All right, we've got a high. There's a lower high. Then we came through and made higher highs. So we're in a daily uptrend inside that bear flag. Been up here multiple times trying to pop the top on this bear flag. Just every time we get up there, can't find the bulls can't find the can opener. All right, that's all I'm saying. All right, to open up the top here and start moving back up. Every time they got to the top of the bear flag, somebody lost the can opener. I don't know what happened. Anyways, there's U.S. dollar index. All right, let's take a look at market economics. And for this morning, Max Payne 657. Let me refresh that. Sometimes they change it on me. And Max Payne 657. And put the call ratio 1.5 puts for each call that expires today. Earnings report. Nothing but familiar names. All right, nothing here that's going to be market moving, especially for us. We trade the indexes. There's nothing here that's going to make the indexes run or make them break down. All right, it's just not enough market cap in there to affect the indexes. All right, so familiar names, but not market movers. All right, that's Friday. Thursday, again, familiar names, but not market movers. This was yesterday. Familiar names, PDD Holdings, Cintas, Familiar names, but definitely not market movers right there. Okay, on the economic calendar for today, it's Thursday. Jobless claims comes out at 8:30. Gas report inventory comes out at 10:30. And then that's it. Tomorrow we're going to get a delayed report because we're still in a shutdown, I guess. International trading goods advanced. All right, that's at 8:30 tomorrow morning. Consumer sentiment at 10, rig count at 1 o'clock. That's it. So really light week. The Bears, if they wanted to push it lower, there was no earnings to disrupt their move, and there was no economic events. The only thing that disrupted the Bears' move was the guy tweeting, all right, from the, tweets were the only thing that we had to worry about. We did have a tweet earlier this week that caused a big rally up higher, all right? We're still unwinding that tweet right now. And that's it for me this morning. I'll see you guys in about 45 minutes, and we'll open up the markets together and trade them to see what we got going on. Again, recognize we're on 650, all right? So we may bounce. I'll revisit it one more time. Okay, let's go to SPY. Pick up the clean chart. Okay, you can see right here 650. We're on 651. You can see we hit there 650.36. Prior low. All right, we seem to be lingering here. So we may be going through 650. We'll see. All right. I'm interested in trading continuation of the 10-minute downtrend. That may not work out, all right? I'm just saying there's a big possibility it doesn't work out because we're right on top of 650. Just saying, we might spike it. We'll see what happens. So we'll see what happens. So we get underneath 650. You're looking at, the low here is 644, maybe even 641 in the pre-market, post-market of some of the other products that measure the S&P 500. So we'll see what happens here. So there's SPY on the 10-minute chart. Again, continuation of the 10-minute downtrend. Again, fully recognizing that 650 price is probably expected to halt price for the first time, maybe even the second time. I don't know about the third time. We'll see what happens. All right, I'll see you guys in like 45 minutes. Thank you.